Hey jerks, and welcome back to the Beer Jerk Beer of the Week Drink Along. Today we are drinking Crazy Hazy Daze from Mount Brewing Co. Now, Mount Brewing Co. are a cool little brewery down in Mount Maunganui on the east, I'm going to say east coast of New Zealand. Pretty sure it's east, my geography is not that great. And they've been going from strength to strength over the last few years with their range. And they sent us a bunch of samples a little while ago, and we were really impressed by all of their beers across the board. Really, they're doing some fantastic stuff along classic styles, but their hazies in particular really impressed us. And this one, Crazy Hazy Daze, was delicious. Now, I'm sure if you're watching this, then we don't need to tell you about hazy IPAs, but I'm going to anyway. Hazy IPAs are, and have been for the last several years, the most popular beer style out there. Every brewer pretty much is brewing them constantly. They're part of core ranges, and they've gone from being a kind of rare, seasonal, one-off offshoot of IPAs to kind of completely overtaking the traditional West Coast style of kind of your crisper, more bitter, clear, piney, resinous IPAs to something a bit more pillowy, soft, and citrusy, and tropical. Now, hazy IPAs originated in New England, so you'll see this one is actually referred to as a New England IPA, and that is referring to the northeastern corner of the United States, so around New York, Massachusetts, Vermont, Maine, in that kind of upper corner there, and the way that they're brewed is a bit different from your standard West Coast IPA, which you'd be familiar with back in the day. The differences start out with the malt base. So while your West Coast IPAs have a really kind of clean malt base, usually just barley with some crystal malts in there, what they do for New England IPAs is they include higher protein malts like oats and wheat in the grist. Now those higher protein malts serve two functions. One is they provide body and mouthfeel and weight to a beer, so you'll notice that this beer is it's got that kind of creamy texture to it, where it's kind of soft on the mouth and kind of gives you that kind of pillowy mouthfeel. And the other thing they do is a little more technical. The way that it works is those proteins during fermentation can bind to the yeasts, some of the yeast byproducts, and to hop oils to create little molecules and compounds that stay in suspension. And that's what gives you your haze in a lot of these beers. Those little clumps where it's not actually hop matter floating around in the beer, or in most cases it's not. If you see your hazies dropping clear, and that might be a little bit of hop matter, but where ones like this where you've got that nice consistent haze, a real kind of thickness to it, and that's through a process called biotransformation. So that occurs as also part of the way that the hopping is done in these beers. So in brewing, hops are added at various points. You can add them at the beginning of when you boil, you can add them in the middle or at the end of your boil, you can add them during fermentation, and you can add them after fermentation. Now traditionally, in old school brewing and lots of classic styles, you'll have hops added throughout the boil. Hops added early on in the process contribute a lot of bitterness, and hops added later in the process add more of those fruity characters. And then dry hops, which are added on the fermentation side, are usually done after fermentation, and provide kind of a really great aroma and lots of floral characters. So when you crack that can, you get those citrus, tropical, pine, whatever it is that the hop's providing comes across there. The novel approach that hazy brewers took was doing that dry hopping during fermentation. And now what that does is it allows that biotransformation process that we talked about, where those hop oils are binding using the proteins in the malt to the yeast cells to create that persistent haze. The yeast is actually the other interesting element of the hazy style beers. Hazies and New England IPAs are usually brewed with English ale yeasts, as opposed to your kind of cleaner, less characterful American yeasts, which give you a nice, clean, crisp, dry profile. English yeasts tend to provide more kind of fruity esters, and they don't ferment the sugar quite as well, so it leaves you with a bit more residual sweetness in the beer. And so that combination of factors, your mid-ferment dry hopping, your high protein malts and adjuncts, and your English style yeast strains all go to contribute to making the beautiful hazy IPA that you're drinking. Now this particular example from Mount Brewing is brewed with 3 of my favourite hops, probably 3 of the most popular hops in the world, Citra, Amarillo and Nelson Sauvin. So you're getting heaps of really great fruit characters coming in from there. You're getting pineapple, mango, citrus, lemon. There's a hint of pine there too, but kind of not over the top. And because those hops are added late in the process, all during the whirlpool, which is right at the end of the boil, and in the dry hop, getting very little bitterness coming through, other than a kind of a little supporting edge to stop it being sweet and cloying. So yeah, it's a fantastic, delicious, creamy, fruity beer, and I hope you all enjoy it. If you've been following along with what we've been doing at Beer Jet, we've got some really cool stuff coming up. Now that it's August, we're getting really excited about Beervana. We've got 2 stands coming up at Beervana, so if you're going to the festival down in Wellington on the 19th and 20th of this month, you can come and see us there. We have an American stand where we have worked with the US Embassy to import some great American beers. Fork Brewing down in Wellington have brewed a few collaborations showcasing American ingredients and American techniques. And we've got some delicious barbecue on that stand as well, so you can come and see us there. We're actually doing 2 stands at Beervana. We've also got our Trans-Tasman collaborational stand where we've teamed up 12 Aussie and 12 Kiwi breweries to produce 12 brand new collaboration beers. Those are being brewed and released simultaneously in Australia and New Zealand. So it's a really exciting project, and the brewers have really come to the party on it. We've got some really interesting styles coming out. We've got a navel orange farmhouse ale, a dry hop kiwi fruit saison, a high density hop charge IPA, a cold IPA, a couple of regular hazies. We've got a couple of pastry sours from some of the best pastry brewers around. We've got a cold black double IPA, a biscuit ale. So there's a really cool range there. If you've been following along with the releases, you can actually check out the full list now on our website. If you open up beerjet.co.nz and open up the Trans-Tasman collaborational product, you'll see the full list of beers there. So if you're not going to make it to Beervana, you can still try those beers at home. The pre-orders are open now, and it's $120 for that 12-pack choice. That's $10 a beer, shipped to your door, and it's a really cool, unique pack that is going to be really fun to get around. So I hope you check that out. I hope you enjoy this hazy from Mount, and cheers. See you next week.